Hey guys, welcome back. I feel a really long intro brewing. I am feeling so refreshed and rejuvenated after my week off of YouTube. In that time, I got sick. Me and Charmaine and Jing went to the States and me and Charmaine both came back with something. I didn't get nearly as sick as she did, but I was kind of out of commission for a couple of days. So it was a perfect excuse to not do YouTube and just lay on the couch. I watched 90s movies, I watched Christmas movies. And then when I started feeling better, I started making, like, I'm in my pasta era right now. I just got a pasta making attachment, the rolling machine, and I just been making pasta nonstop, and it's been so much fun. And in the last few weeks, I haven't really been filming that much of these plants. I've been filming in the plant room every now and then, but I haven't been really talking about these plants in my room. So while you guys haven't been seeing them a lot, I also haven't been seeing them a lot. I've been neglecting these pretty badly. I've been keeping on top of the watering, just the bare minimum, and doing some pest management, but I haven't really been like pruning, repotting. I've been doing the absolute necessary repots, and we did a little Palm Street live here last week with Charmaine, and I repotted some seedlings, but that's basically the extent of it. Usually in the summertime is when, first of all, I'm not a happy camper in the summertime. This is my seasonal depression time, not the winter. This is the time where I'm the least happy, and this is when I usually feel the most fatigue or burnout with plant care, especially. So now I feel like summer is starting to wind down. I'm starting to come alive again, and I'm so excited to get into these plants with you guys. And I've been purposely not looking at the plants too much in the last 5 days or so. So if there's any new leaves, we're going to discover them together. And also I just want to show you some like good stuff that's happening, some really bad stuff that's happening. And at the same time, I want to be able to pick some plants I might be able to sell tomorrow at the live sale. That's, I guess, like the one chore I want to do today. And I also want to practice on my new camera. So if you guys were on the Palm Street live, this came in the mail. This was delivered during the live. So this is my new camera. Obviously, I'm not filming on it right now. This is like my secondary camera. I'm so excited to have it. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and it's like a vlogging camera. Well, this is kind of a vlogging camera, but this is, it's got a built-in gimbal. So if I turn it on right now, you see this? So this is going to, like, look how stable it is. So anything that I film of the plants, I'm going to be using this. I want to practice with it because I want to bring this to Miami with me, to IAS. And I don't really have a plan for today. Every time I tried to sit down and like figure out an outline of today, I just didn't want to. We're just gonna go with the flow and see what happens. I'm just happy to be here, so hopefully it's a good time for you. If not, at least it will be a good time for me. I've also got my watering can full of TPS1. We're going to do TPS1 today of any plants that need water, but I did water a few days ago, just like a really quick, like everything. So the first update is so random, and I've talked to a few people, and like this has happened to so many of my plant friends, but I so randomly found thrips. Like, I never get thrips. I got thrips. I was looking at my plants here. This is like the thrip zone right here. Should I have my tent open? Probably not, but I'm not really that scared of thrips, but I wanted to show you some of the damage that I found, and also how I've been treating it. And I feel like thrips is not nearly as scary as a lot of other pests because yes, they do a lot of damage, and yes, their life cycle is quite long. You have to be quite diligent, but the pesticides actually work on them. Whereas like mealybugs and spider mites especially, it just, where do they come from? And they just never go away. They never go away. But thrips, I've always had like 100% success rate with in getting rid of them. And I feel like since I did a really heavy treatment, I'll tell you in a second what I did, but since I did a really heavy treatment, I feel like it's under control now. And I've just been searching for signs of thrips since then. I haven't found any yet. And I'm not out of the woods yet, but we're kind of nearing the edge of the forest. So this is the plant that I found it on first. This is my forgetii, one of my favorite forgetii. It's like very black, very like grainy, leathery, pebbly texture. And I was looking at it and I was like, you have an aura of ugliness. Was it this leaf? Ooh, my little pot extender has been working. See? So this leaf has like a little splotch of irrigation, but I was looking at it and I just like, you look kind of dusty, but not in the spider mite way. And it was thrips because you can kind of see, like in between the like leathery kind of graininess, there's like these little gray squiggles. You can really see it on this leaf. okay, right here, you can actually see the speckles are spider mite damage. It's getting a little bit blown out, so I'm gonna back up and I'll just zoom in and post. Right here in the speckly zone, there's like, the speckles are from spider mites, but the little squiggles are thrips, so you see both of them at the same time. And definitely up here, all those gray little squiggles are all from thrips. I did see only baby thrips or like juvenile thrips, the white ones. I don't know exactly what species they are. The only thing that I feel like is important to know with thrips and what species they are is that some species will have a life cycle within the substrates and some always live on the foliage. So they lay their eggs in the foliage, they hatch from the foliage, they never go into the soil. I'm pretty sure this one has a part of its life cycle in the soil as well. I'm just assuming that, so I'm not repotting everything, but I did do a soil drench. So I haven't had thrips in probably like 3 years. I remember I brought home a plant that had thrips, but I just kept it in a bag and I just treated that plant. So I never really had thrips in my collection and certainly never in this plant room. So I had this from a really long time ago. This one is spinosad and the active ingredient is spinosad, but I think it's a higher percentage of spinosad than Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew, which I think is like 0.1 or 0.2%, but this is 0.5%. And also the dilution is really, really weak. Like you only put like a couple of drops per liter. This is it, by the way. I'm pretty sure you can only get this in the States. I actually don't know if spinosad kills myco. I know that some pesticides will kill myco, some won't. So in any case, I'm going to go through and re-inoculate everything once I'm happy that everything is eradicated. So it's going to be a few more weeks of just treating consistently with spinosad. So basically day 1, found thrips on this plant and a few of the neighboring plants I'm going to show you. So the first thing I did was I already had Captain Jack's mixed up, so I just sprayed it and waited an hour to see if it would like actually kill the visible thrips I could see. And then I went back, and what you can do is like you poke it slightly, and if they squiggle, obviously they're alive, but if they're dead, then they're just kind of like gonna fall off the leaf like a dry little moss flake. And they were still squiggling after the Captain Jack. So then I went in with Dr. Doom, because at the time I forgot I had that stronger spinosad. So this is the, oh, nope, that's French. Thrip killer spray. I haven't touched this in years as well, but this one's pretty much done. I have another can. I went in with that, waited a few hours, and then I came back and I think they were pretty much dead. And then I remember I had this, so then I remixed a spray bottle with this, and then I was watering all the plants. Everything here got watered with spinosad so it can be taken up into the plant, because spinosad does have kind of systemic properties, so it will kind of take up into the plant for a few weeks, and any pests that feed on it should, in theory, die. Although I will say this hasn't been working. Spinosad hasn't been a total cure-all for spider mites, and I'm still having to rotate pesticides for spider mites. And in the next few weeks, will be doing another round of predatory mites, because I feel like that's the most effective. It's just the most expensive. I will say I have been checking the main culprits, like the ones I actually saw thrips on and thrips damage. I have been checking them to see if I could see any signs of live thrips, and I haven't in the last week, so that has been good. Also, while we're talking about thrips, I just want to say, like, please, if you're dealing with thrips, please do not use imidacloprid for thrips. And that's like a very selfish thing, a very selfish ask on my part, because Bonite systemic granules is quite easy to get, and that's the most common pesticide I think that includes imidacloprid that people buy. It's very readily available in the States, and I think imidacloprid does work for thrips, but the thing about it is that it's been proven to just create this breeding frenzy with spider mites. If you're like in any sort of plant group, I feel like everyone is dealing with spider mites, and I am pointing the finger at imidacloprid because I think my theory is that it got used so heavily since the pandemic, since everyone got into houseplants and stuff, and then this like spider mite surge is happening, and then people are propping and like passing plants on. I just feel like thrips is so easy to get rid of in comparison to spider mites. So why not use a pesticide that actually works for thrips, spinosad, that doesn't cause spider mites to breed like crazy? This is one plant that got it bad. My queen. I can't see any thrips. The other nice thing about thrips nice thing is that it's easier to see than spider mites. But this leaf I was so annoyed with because this is the only nice leaf on this plant. For some reason, it's been having a really hard time forming new leaves. Like this is probably not going to expand very well. And I'm not sure why, but the only way I'm going to be able to find out is to unpot it and like check the roots and see what's going on. It may have some root rot, maybe some stem rot. I don't really know. Actually, in fact, I did get clear garbage bins because we went down to the States, we went to Target and I got those clear Target garbage cans. I could pot it in that maybe, but yeah, this one looks so dusty, but it's all thrips damage. So you can see how like dusty and gray it looks up at the top. There's a lot of little gray squiggles here, and I just did a really close once over and I couldn't see any active thrips. At least from a distance, you can't really see the damage that badly, but up close it looks atrocious, like absolutely hideous. And this collar has not been working so far. This is the Russo collar. It's probably because this plant is just not really like a readily rooting kind of plant. I just think that this one's just not very happy and doesn't want to put out any roots, but no visible roots on the side of this. Is that a root? Or is that perlite? Nope, that's perlite. Yeah, I don't see any visible roots on the side of this pot extender. So yeah, that's another ugly one. Another super ugly one. This is my forgetii, the one that I bred. Yeah, I think I just need to take it into the shower and wash it off, but look at this. Oh my gosh, it's so disgusting. I would have cut it off, except that it's producing berries right now and I just don't want to jeopardize its energy making capabilities. Oh no, that's spider mites. There's a little cluster right here of spider mites. So I'm gonna spray this one down, but there definitely was thrips damage on here. The worst leaf is definitely this one. Like I think this one was possibly pesticide pooling in this little like bowl. And then down here you can see a lot of like squiggly wiggly crap. This one's not looking so good. So we're gonna do a little spray down. This is the this diluted. And we're gonna spray it down because I really want it to just finish making these berries. It's really strange. I'm looking at them right now. Let me just show you. This one was pollinated with PAP RA5. For it like poking out this much, it's still full green. Like hasn't started turning purple at all, which is really strange because usually by now it's gonna be purple. I really don't like spraying emergent leaves, but if there's actually visible spider mites, I have really no choice. There's something about forgetii and pests. They seem to get them all first over all of my other anthurium. This one's kind of near to like that magnificum. Oh, you can't see it. That magnificum hybrid, my HE red crystal, my king of spades. They all, you know, get spider bites every now and then, but the forgetii always get it the worst. And like the ones that got thrips the quickest and had the most damage were all forgetii. I'm just gonna spray the top of the soil just for good measure. So here's something exciting. I don't know if you guys will remember my alocasia scalprum has been looking like hot garbage. So I had it in soil, and then sometime around Christmas time, it was like maybe November or December, I repotted it into pond, finally. I don't know why I was growing in soil when it wasn't really like growing very fast or growing that well. And then it promptly just started defoliating. So I think what happened was you can see how much algae is in this vessel and I couldn't see the water line. So at one point, I think I had water like all the way out to here without realizing, and I could have just tipped it out then, but I was like, oh, it's an alocasia, let's just leave it. The roots look good. So all the leaves got really, really bad edema and they all just like rotted off. Like they just got these big brown blotches everywhere. And then it promptly put out like 20 flowers, no leaves. But I'm happy to report she's back. Look at this beautiful leaf. And right after, another leaf. I nearly gave up on this plant. I was gonna just throw it in the garbage because I was so sick of these flowers and it was looking so sad. But this leaf just changes everything. I'm so glad to have my scalprum back, and I just hope that I can hold on to this a little bit longer without it putting out more flowers, because it was just so sad. It's just been at the back of this shelf here. I just never wanted to look at it. Speaking of watering, do you need watering? It's looking real slimy down there. I don't think you need water, but up here feels a little dry, so I'm gonna give you just a little splash. Do you have thrips or spider mites? Not that I can see. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Look how beautiful and dark she is. It's got that signature scalprum asymmetrical. This one's looking a little extra asymmetrical, but I just think that adds to the scalprum charm. And I always think that this is my favorite alocasia, but I was like hesitating to do so while it was really ugly and I was almost going to replace it, but I'm glad I didn't. I've had this for so long and it should be way bigger than this, but I'm just not very good at growing alocasia. So I'm a little bit worried because like alocasias grow best when it's warm and where it's hot right now. But when I look forward into the next 3 weeks forecast, every week it's getting steadily cooler and cooler. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be into like fall weather pretty soon. So while that's really good for me, I think the scalprum is not going to be super happy with that, but we will see. But really happy she's finally back. It's only been like 9 months since I had a nice leaf on it. No big deal. Little update on my Ace BVEP that I got from Amanda. How long ago was this? Maybe a month and a half or so. So it's this giant monster that she sent. Yeah, I think it must have been like a month and a half ago. So it had a little hole. There was like some like movement in the box, so some mechanical damage, but otherwise healthy. I repotted it into a bigger pot. It has been rooting, but not like crazy. I think it probably would have rooted faster in my tent, but I wanted to keep it ambient because it had been growing in ambient, so I didn't want to like acclimate it to high humidity and then acclimate it out again. Not to mention there's no room in my tent, but it finally pushed out a leaf. It's a little dirty. It has some dried up mucilage on it, but look how beautiful that is. It has that low humidity curve. It's not gonna harden off perfect and symmetrical, but it's so pretty and so dark, and I can't wait to finally chop it. I'm just hoping that it roots a little bit more. Actually, I can see roots right at the top of the substrate, so that's great. This thing actually has been drying out so quickly. It's a quick drinker. I'm gonna give it, it's not dry, but I'll give it a little bit of water. But I'm excited to be finally chopping it because I'm gonna trade a cutting of this with my friend for her Ace Carla. So a little Ace BVEP for Ace Carla. But the colors on this is so pretty. I thought it looked very Ace heavy on the hardened leaf, but on the emergent leaf, it does look very BVEP-y. It's got like really orangey red veins, and definitely on the back side of the leaf, the veins are like super hot pink. And I don't know how big this leaf will harden off to. I don't think it's gonna be this big, but I'm not super mad at it because it's kind of taking up a lot of room in this corner. And I mentioned in a recent video, I think it was last week's video or my last video, I wanted to kind of redo this and get some of the big plants that can't really fit in here move downstairs, and then some big plants I want to sell if I can verify that they're pest free, and do some like probably isolate it, treat it, and just like check that a new leaf doesn't have spider mites and now thrips, I guess. But I can't do that now because I don't want to introduce potentially thrips downstairs as well. So I kind of want to keep it contained here. But that is something I really want to do. So Charmaine texted me a video collab idea, which we want to try to do. Is gonna be win-win for everybody. So she wants to basically each of us write down on like pieces of paper 10 chores that we ourselves have been meaning to do but don't want to do, and then we will tackle that chore together. And I want to put this on the chore because you know how like you want to restyle something, you want to restyle or redecorate something, and your mind cannot grasp the vision. Like you know there's a way to make it look good and work functional. Your brain just can't crack the code. So I'm at a standstill with this room. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what plants I should be even keeping, what plants I should get rid of. And sometimes you just need a friend there and just be like, get rid of this. This is a keeper. She's known me for so many years. She knows what I like and what kind of makes me happy, so it'd be good for her to like help me tackle that, and I think that would be her strong suit too. So anyway, I'm gonna save that chore for another day. This is my novelty G Ace that I think I repotted this on camera. I did, and then I promptly moved it out of my tent onto this shelf, and the new leaf is nice and big, but it got spider mite speckles. It actually could be flat mite speckles, to be honest. And the one thing I haven't done with my anthurium is sulfur. Because oftentimes I will see the speckles, but I won't see spider mites and I won't see webbing. So it very well could be flat mites that's in here. And I know that sulfur works really well for flat mites. It's just really stinky and really ugly. Okay, now we're in the tent. Actually, I probably should wash my hands after touching those plants. Okay, so before I start picking up plants to kind of inspect closely and look at new leaves, I just want to show you how freaking full this tent is. Down here, it is so squishy. Look at my poor Magchris Carla. She got so squished by the plants. And every time I take out plants to look at, it's such a challenge to get things to fit back in here. So at some point I need to give Tofu back to Jing. Maybe this week, actually. That'll free up a bunch of space because she's taking up that whole corner. I've had her here to breed with, but she failed twice to produce berries. So I feel like Jing can probably do something with her back home. I did try, but the King of Spades that I put on her didn't work. And then I used her pollen for my Frigetia and for somehow that didn't work either. So we're kind of abandoning that project. But anyways, look how squished my RA5 is. I can't even bring it out to show you, but this new leaf is getting a little bit bleached, but I can't even push it back anymore. Back there is another plant that's super squished. What I really wanted to do is take one or two plants that are like on the bigger side, have a strong root system, and just move them out and live in ambient conditions. Because I think with a strong root system it's pretty seamless. The only problem is that now we potentially have a thrips problem, which I guess is not the end of the world because thrips aren't that difficult to deal with. And I think we're pretty much done dealing with them. But like I said, just my brain can't compute this project right now. I just need a second opinion. So that's where we're at. They're just going to be a little bit more squished until Charmaine can help me deal with this. Anyways, on to happier things. This HU Rare crystal that I imported kind of recently, maybe within the last 2 months, it has exploded with roots in the last few weeks. And look at this new leaf. It's so pretty. It's so veiny and it's got a nice pink little sinus. In person, it does have pinky veins, like baby pink, not really, really strong pink, but on the camera, it never shows up. But this is such a pretty new leaf and it's not hardened off yet. It's still pretty soft. So I'm yet to determine if it's going to be like a sturdier, thicker, leatherier leaf than the import leaves, because these are really, you can see how soft they are. And that's kind of it, like fully hydrated. It does actually feel way more firm and it hasn't even hardened off yet. This one was my favorite of the two. Let me show you the other one that's been living in ambient conditions. It's a little bit rounder, but the veins aren't as thick and bleedy on this one. But this was the first leaf that this one put out. And it did this in ambient conditions. It's got lots of roots. All these roots were grown in ambient conditions as well. I underwatered it a few times, so it's dropped a couple of the older leaves. This one, I just have a little bit more of a preference for than this one, but this one is also very cute. I'm really happy to have them both because this one looks like it's going to be a rounder one. Every leaf has been slightly, a little bit like shorter this way. It's not round, but they're not as elongated. But this one definitely has leaves that are a little bit more narrow and long at the same time. And that new leaf looks like an almond. It's so pretty. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for this one. Oh my gosh. I totally forgot to show you the most exciting new leaf, and it's not living in my tent. I almost just wanted to center this whole video around it and I completely forgot about it. Okay, so my King of Spades, right? Let me just show you my King of Spades. It did get a little bit of thrips, I think. Yeah, it did get hit with thrips. Let me just double check that there's no active thrips. I don't see thrips, but you can see a little bit of squiggles, definitely around the sinus. So yeah, it hasn't been doing that great, but I love this plant. It's actively pushing a leaf right now. That caterpillar is active. It has been rooting pretty well since the chop. So I chopped this, right? So King of Spades for me, I've said historically has always been really hard to cut from and get successful propagations. So I don't know if it's a King of Spades thing or my specimen thing, but whenever I had a leafless butt cut, that butt cut would not would not grow. It was only whenever I had a leaf attached to it, like a live green leaf attached to that cutting, would that cutting actually grow into a plant. Otherwise, it would just kind of turn hollow and just kind of either dry rot or wet rot. So anyways, I took a really dicey cutting. So the chunk is like this. I basically had to cut it at almost like a vertical diagonal in order to capture that one leaf so that that bottom cutting would survive. So that's the backstory. I was so surprised when this bottom cutting started activating really quickly, because oftentimes it would also be really slow to start, but it activated a growth point within a couple weeks and we have a new leaf. It got very slightly dinged, but come on. It's freaking massive and it's beautiful. I am so in love with this prop and I took this cutting in order to trade it. I don't know if that trade's still happening. And if it doesn't happen, then I have this beautiful, beautiful plant to grow. I am just so in love. Oh, it's actually been rooting a whole bunch. I am just so impressed with this plant and I vow not to cut my King of Spades anymore, at least for another 1.5 to 2 years, because it's been through a lot. It's been flowering. I want to just grow it a lot bigger because the leaves on that plant should be way bigger than they actually are. It should be like this size by now for how long I've had it, but I just keep cutting it and I just gotta stop. But whenever I prop it and the new leaf looks like this, I mean, it's really tempting to just do it again because it's so much fun. And I cannot believe how big this leaf is. It's on a bottom cutting. When the leaf came out, it didn't look that big and it just kept expanding and expanding and expanding, and it's so round and perfect, and it's still expanding a little bit. It's pretty much done now, but it's not fully hardened. It's still a little bit soft. So this one, luckily, I don't know how, but it's sitting in like a little prop area that's not enclosed, so it's just open to ambient air, and somehow it formed pretty well without ripping itself. Well, it ripped itself a teeny tiny bit right here. It's a little bit of a jaggedy edge, but overall it formed really well, and also it doesn't seem to have pests, which is great, which means that my prop area is pretty pest free, knock on wood. It's kind of really close to the grow lights and it's not burning. I think King of Spades can actually take quite a bit of light without burning. I might be wrong, but I think it actually creates more color. Like the emergent leaves become a little bit more brighter in the purples and reds. It's a little sad that I have to keep it in that corner, which currently right now is pest free, because I would love to keep it over here so I can look at it every day, but it's okay. Oh, it's just so cute. That red sinus and those like super round spidery veins. It's so perfect. Sticking to the red and veiny category, my red crystal just put out a new leaf and I haven't looked at it yet, so we're gonna look at it together. Oh, well that's pretty. Oh, it's so purple. Does it show purple for you guys? Not, I mean, kind of. It looks more pinky in the viewfinder, but it's quite purple in real life. And this looks to be another leaf that is pretty much fully formed. We got 2 ears, a leaf tip, everything's here. I think that this plant is kind of stabilizing. I mean, again, knock on wood, but I think it's kind of stabilizing, and it has been taking up water a little bit more steadily. In the past, I found that it wouldn't need water very often. It would be like every 3 to 4 weeks I'd have to water it, but this one, there's been multiple times that I checked on it and it's been like dry, and I've been like a little bit nervous because I felt like I was behind on the watering, which historically I've never been behind on the watering for this plant. So it's good to see that it's starting to take up water a little bit more aggressively, which means that it's going to be taking up the nutrients a little bit more. And I think that's something, I don't know what caused it to do that. Like, was it lack of roots? I don't think it was lacking roots before, but something triggered it to start to take up more water, which in turn takes up more nutrients, and I think led to it actually growing nice leaves, because before this, I could not get a fully formed leaf. It would always be missing a bit, be warping, and like one side of it just would just like pinch itself, and it would just be like a really twisted looking leaf. But now it's looking so much better, and it's not dry, but you can see on the edges of it, the top layer of the soil is a little bit dry. So I probably could give it a little bit of water, and I probably will top up the soil at some point, but I'm just really happy that this one's finally growing really nicely for me. It's got some dust. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so stinking pretty. During our Palm Street Live, one of the questions was, what's your favorite plant right now? And I had no answer. I was like, there's just too many to pick, but I kind of forgot that this one currently is one of my most exciting baby plant. It's pretty baby. I would call this a baby plant. This is my Carla Black Widow Michelle, and this is the new leaf. It has been growing so well. And this leaf, I don't think it's showing up on camera, but it's the most colorful one so far. In person, it has kind of like a purpley holographic shift. It's subtle. It's not as strong as the Bessier Ave hybrid, but it is a little bit more colorful than previous leaves have been. And it's kind of got these little like wavy edges, especially on the top, on this lobe, not so much on the bottom. But this is one of my most exciting plants right now because I'm really excited to see how it matures, how those veins change, but it has been very thin veined. I'm just waiting to see if it turns spidery like the Black Widow. The Black Widow Michelle that this came from was so pretty. It's super spidery, looks just like stripy Black Widow. Like it doesn't look just like stripy, but it's very stripy-esque. So I picked this one specifically for the thin veins in the hopes that it would turn into that like very spidery looking thing. So far, it's just been thin vein and dark, which is also really nice, but I really hope that it turns into like a very spidery and round because the Carla that was used for this was also really, really round. So I'm just hoping that it rounds out and just gets really, really wide. So far, not yet, but the veins are very promising. So I'm super happy about that. Wow, this thing's getting big. It's so interesting. So this one is Fort Sherman Ralph Linum crossed with Dress Carla. And it's so elongated and spear-like. This is the one that had blister variegation, but it kind of went away. So this is the leaf with the strongest blister variegation. It's not like super strong, but it's definitely there. And it was a little bit on the leaf before it as well. But the leaf after that had nothing. And also had like almost no lobes. And this new leaf, when it was forming, it was kind of forming a little bit weird because it's kind of stretching towards the light. But this newest leaf, before it fully hardened and expanded, it looked so puffy. It looked like a puffer jacket. It was like really between the veins, really puffed out. But it has hardened off a little bit more. Well, it's not fully hardened off, but as it expanded, the puffs kind of flattened out. But it's looking very interesting. This one was like a seedling, like a germinated seed basically that I got around Christmas time last year. And I'm really happy with how it's grown. Like it's been sizing up with every leaf and now we're here for like 8 months of growth. It's not insanely impressive, but it has been progressively sizing up. So I'm hoping, here's my hope for this. I'm hoping that this like really bumpy texture persists. It'd be really cool to see what the lobes end up being like. It would be nice if it starts to go sideways. A little bit more flat, a little bit like short lobed. I think that'd be really cool if the leaf blade ends up being really long, bumpy, puffy with minimal lobes. That would be my hope for it. I don't need, nor do I really want the blister variegation to come back because I don't think it looks that nice unless it's super strong. Just that in between of the like light blister variegation I think always detracts from the beauty of the plant. So this one's been growing pretty well. Another little plant that just had a really nice comeback. Ooh, you're dripping. Is this Papillamnum Portier hybrid I got from Amanda a while ago. So I kind of struggled with this plant for a little bit. It wasn't growing very well for me, and then suddenly it just like kind of figured its stuff out and it started growing really beautiful. It was bushy, but I think that period of time where it wasn't growing very well kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So I was like, I don't know if I really want it. And it was like kind of growing really tall above the substrate. All of the stem was kind of like here. And because it was living in high humidity, all the roots were extending out into the substrate. So I was like, do I want to just get rid of it and sell the whole thing? But I was like, maybe I'll regret it. So I basically I took a top cutting and then the roots that were sticking to the substrate, I just pulled it out. So I had a full root system off the bat and I didn't even touch the bottom cutting. This is the original pot it was in. And I just left it as a stump for a while and it has come back with 2 growth points and it's so cute. This plant has like the most beautiful ultra matte kind of like purpley holographic. This was the leaf before on this growth point. So this growth point is actually winning for sure. This other growth point only has this one little leaf. This one is on its second leaf, and look at that sinus. It's got that nice wide portier sinus, but this plant in my experience never has like a fully flat wide sinus. It's just kind of got a little bit of a widened area between the lobes, but the lobes are usually pretty vertical. But it's so pretty, and I'm so glad I didn't just get rid of the whole thing. I'm glad I kept the bottom. Like, I think I would have regretted it. And it was like a really pretty bushy thing. Doug's barking downstairs. It was a really pretty bushy thing, and it's come back so well. But that's literally what I did. I was like, cut, extract, leave the bottom cutting. Doug is freaking out downstairs. I don't know what's going on. Am I expecting a delivery? Am I expecting a delivery? I don't think so. I am so hungry right now, by the way. I shoveled the biggest yogurt bowl of like blueberries and granola before I filmed, because I know that whenever I film, I get really hungry. You guys should have heard me during the Palm Street Live. My stomach was rumbling so bad during it. I don't know if you guys were hearing it on the stream, but then Charmaine was like, what is that sound? It was my stomach. Whenever a camera is on me, I just get really hungry. All I can think of right now is going to Costco and buying like a flat of eggs and just making so much pasta with it. You guys don't understand how obsessed I am with making pasta right now. My stomach's about to rumble again. Anyways, I hope you guys are eating something while I'm just sitting here starving. My little Carlas, I had my baby Carlas that I got this year. I had been growing it inside of my dome, and I just recently graduated them here. So I don't know if you guys remember them because I haven't been showing them all that much, but these two I got earlier this year, and this one is Carla RA8 Self from Buzz Plants, and it's getting a little bit bigger. When I first got it, it was like, oh my gosh, can I even show you this little leaf here? That was the newest leaf, or the first leaf I grew. The first two leaves that it came with were like super shriveled because when it came, it was quite dry. So those original leaves did not stick around, but it had been growing inside of like a no drainage little parfait cup. It came in a little plastic, you know, those little square ones, that little dessert parfait hors d'oeuvre thing. So I very recently moved it into a square pot. It was an upsize. Do I see roots? Not yet, but it's really perky, and it's been sizing up like incrementally, but pretty steadily. So it's not humongous size jumps, but here's what we're at now. I wanted to get it out of my dome because it's 100% humidity. I wanted to harden it off to like slightly lower humidity in my tent, but also the dome is pretty bright, and you can see that this plant is pretty bright green. Like, it doesn't have that really dark Carla look, which it shouldn't at this age yet, but I wanted to get it into slightly lower light because in comparison, my other Carla, this one is Carla 1 RA1 cross RA16, and this one's from Rory. Ooh, it's getting a little bit blown out. This one is darker. I don't know if you can kind of see this one's darker. It's got a more rich green. It's a little slower growing than this one. This one I got off Palm Street. And this one is still in the same pot that I potted it in when I first got it. It's kind of like a mix of my tree fern soil and Rory's mix, which looked to be a mix of like orchiata and zeolite, and maybe it was their pumice. I don't really remember, but it's kind of like, it's basically tree fern soil for both of these. And now they're both in the same pot. This one has only grown, I think, 2 or 3 leaves in my care, and this one's maybe grown 3 or 4, and I got them pretty much the same time, maybe within like a couple of weeks of each other, but they're doing pretty well. And now they live inside my tent. Again, like I wanted to get it into slightly lower light. I know that Carlas can take a lot of light, but these ones are looking a little greener. Maybe not this one. This one's looking like a nice Carla color, but this one looks a little bit bright. And it could be a nutrition thing. I'm not really sure, but we'll see how it goes. Speaking of Carlas, I'll probably just show you all my Carlas at the same time. My Carla Wu 2, I chopped it last week because it needed a repot, and I needed to take a cutting of it for a potential trade, which I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I was just like, let's just cut it now and root it out so I can continue my upsize routine of just like continuously upsizing the pot. So it's got way less roots now. I don't really see active root growth. It hasn't thrown a huge fit. I do think it can be perkier than it actually is, right now, but it's not like fully wilted, so we will see. As soon as it gets some root growth, it should firm up, and I'm just waiting for that to happen. But I don't see like rotted roots. I don't think I even potted the roots up to the side, which is annoying because I can't really monitor it. But if the roots rotted, it wouldn't look this perky. It's not fully perky. It's a little bit soft, but it's really not like just wilting. So I'm just gonna leave it the way it is, but this one has been chopped, and I'm gonna check in a little bit to see if it has activated, because the Woo one activated pretty much instantly, like within the first, I want to say 10 days, it had an active growth point. And the Woo one, which I chopped, oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to take this out? This one has been doing so well since the chop, but I do want to give it a little inspection. So here's my Woo one. It has dropped this leaf. I'll just remove it right now. This was the biggest leaf when I first got the plant. And this, which one is it? This one is the newest hardened leaf, but it has just pushed its first leaf since the chop. Looking beautiful. I would love to chop this leaf, but you know, we'll just leave it on there, let it pull in the nutrients. It has rooted pretty well since being chopped. Can you see the roots? And yeah, it pushed out this flower, which I didn't get the pollen off of. So I wasn't going to pollinate it because it had lost a bunch of roots. So it's now, after this, when it pushes out its next flower from this new leaf, it will be ready to take pollen. But the funny thing is, when I was like sick, I wasn't really going in my tent. And I think that was like the longest my tent had been closed in recent memory. So a lot of, there was like mold growing on inflows, but specifically on inflows. So this inflow, you can see, is super moldy, and I would have used the pollen, except it's mold now. So I'm not going to use the pollen. I'm just going to let it kind of pull the energy back. I usually don't cut inflows off unless it's like really in the way. I will just like let it get to a point where I can just pluck it off. It's not like a hard rule, but I like to let it pull some nutrients back, especially if I feel like the plant could use it. Like if this plant is really strong, huge root system, super robust, lots of leaves, and I think it could use, or like it could survive, or what am I trying to say? Like it wouldn't matter if it had a bit of energy loss from just suddenly cutting something off. I'll just do it. But this one, I'm just trying to be a little bit more careful with, I guess. So yeah, since the chop, it lost that bottom leaf, and this leaf is going, but the other leaves look like they're holding on nice and strong. Is that, oh no, this one is the newest leaf. That's the newest hardened leaf, not this one. This little round guy. And I think it does need a little bit of water. This new leaf looks like it's gonna be really veiny. And I only noticed that it popped out a few days ago, but I never really looked that closely at it. So we're experiencing this together. Gonna give her just a little bit of water. It's so nice to see that Carla prices are coming down, because I've been noticing that some Carla sales posts have been kind of sitting there for a little bit longer. So the prices are coming down for anyone who's been looking for Carla. It's coming. Speaking of Carla, this new leaf I haven't seen, this Forgetty Eye Carla, is so cute. It's not really sizing up for me, but it is rooting really well. It actually could use an upsize. Yeah, this one can use an upsize to this size pot, the next size up. It's got a really, really fat root. It just pushed out into the substrate. I'm gonna leave this maybe for next week's video. I think I'm in the mood for like a repot and chat, so this will be on the roster for next week. And by that time, this leaf will be pretty much hardened off. Not fully hardened off, but like pretty much done expanding. It's not fusing its sinus just yet. It's slightly peltate around the sinus, but it's not fusing yet, which I'm really excited for it to do because it looks so cute when it's fully fused. And actually, so I don't know if I've told you guys this yet. I don't think I have. So I had pollinated my Carla Bevep and my Magchris Carla with Carla pollen from the first inflow of my Carla Woo one. Neither of them took, both of them, yeah, it didn't take. So I wanted to do it again, but then just the timing wasn't right on the next Carla inflow. So I didn't end up using the pollen for anything. But the next one, I want to use it on Forgetty Eye, if possible, because I think Forgetty Eye Carla is such a good hybrid. This one really needs water. I think with Carla Woo 1, Magchris Carla would probably be my ideal candidate, but forgetti, like the earlier one, that really black forgetti that had the thrips. I think that one would be perfect match with my Carla as well because it's so dark. So a lot of the colors and the venation there's a lot of overlap, but it will just be like a leathery, slightly veinier, maybe slightly fused sinus from time to time. That would be my ideal forgetti Carla. I think it would be better than using any of my dark form without the silver. I want the silver to be present. Okay, this plant, the last time I showed it to you, it resulted in my dark phoenix inflow breaking. So I'll see if I can take this out ever so carefully. And it brought a spider web with it. There's a spider that lives at the top of my tent and I just took its whole web with me. Here's something potentially very exciting. My Diabloense, which desperately needs a repot. This is the newest hardened leaf. It's getting so loby. Look at that. I love this plant so much. So my friend Anna has a Diabloense. I think it also was from Amanda. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. Hers looks like a Nike swoosh, like a boomerang. And Charmaine said that hers looks like that as well. But mine has that like really angry vertical lobes. This is the biggest leaf it's grown so far. There are so many spider webs on this thing. And it just pushed out this leaf, which I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show you it, but it looks like it's got really strong lobes as well. Okay, so first of all, look at the roots. It needs a repot so badly, but I'm really scared to repot it because I think that it's producing berries. So the first inflow was this. I showed you guys this. I don't know why it's not dyed yet, but it's starting to die. The tip of it's drying out. It does have these like green bumps on it, which made me feel like it was maybe possibly pollinated, like it had selfed itself, but that was the first inflow. So then the second inflow, I rubbed the first inflow on it. So just like I took them and I just went like with the first one and the second one. And this one is it. The biggest one. Doesn't it look like it took? Like it's green and bumpy. And it's been quite a few weeks since it's been out and it's not showing any signs of decline. This is the newest inflow. It hasn't even gone like receptive yet, so it's pretty fresh. And I was talking about this to Josh on the Palm Street Live, and he was saying that pretty much all Mexican species that we're growing are really, like they take a really long time to grow berries. So we all know that clarinarium takes like ages to grow berries. So the gestation period is like a year plus for most cases. And I think he said that Chiapazense was also really slow, and he thinks that Diabloense is also really slow, which I don't know evolutionarily speaking what that's accomplishing and why all the anthurium that are native to that area are very, very slow growing for berries, but that seems to be the case. They also have a very certain look, like they're a little bit more tapered on the ends, the spadix, and they have this like kind of ultra matte dry looking spadix. This to me looks a lot like a clarinervium inflow. So like from a non-botanist perspective, this looks very much like a clary inflow. And so I'm not happy to know that it's going to take a really long time to grow berries, but it does appear that it has taken, does it not? So that'll be really exciting if it goes all the way to the end. I totally would repot this if I felt a little bit more confident, but this is the species that I just like, I feel like I've lucked out. I don't think they're difficult, but I just don't do well with like clarinervium. It's an anthurium that I always struggle with, so I expected to struggle with this one too. So far it's been okay, but I just don't want to repot it. Let's see if this will show up on camera. This is Red Crystallinum Wu 5 crossed with Wu 8. I just want to see if that pink will show up. Will it show up like back here maybe? Not really. It's so bright bubblegum pink in person. Maybe it's showing up a little bit. It's not bad actually. These Woohoo red crystals have been growing really fast. I have one downstairs that has put out 3 leaves simultaneously. And then I have this one. And then I have the one that's been growing the most robustly. This one is Wu 5 Self. This is the newest leaf. It's not super red, but it definitely has red veins. You can see it down the middle and all the primary veins are red. But this one has been growing the fastest, and I think this was the biggest leaf when I first got it. That was the newest leaf, and it's grown 3 in my care. So that was the first one that grew, Then this one and this one. Definitely the veiniest, thickest veined red crystal I got from them. And this one does have red. I'm just like I'm very optimistic that it'll turn out into be like a red crystallinum. But now I feel like I'm spoiled because my original red crystallinum is coming back. Okay, I want to show you this plant, even though really nothing has happened since you last saw it. But I just realized as I was looking through old photos and stuff, I was like, I think I was taking this plant for granted because it is so stinking pretty, and I just feel like maybe, I don't know what it is, I just wasn't really appreciating just how beautiful it was until I kind of tucked it away. And also Amanda had sent a few up here for sale that haven't been sold yet, but they are so beautiful. And I just like, I was looking at them, I was like, why don't I appreciate my Spider Ralphman more? So this is Spider Ralphman. This is Spider Bessier Ave crossed with Ralphinum Fort Sherman. So this was bred by Anthuriums, but I think he had sent Amanda a whole bunch of seeds or seedlings, and she coined the term Spider Ralphman. And I just think it's so pretty. I had cut this. We're gonna check on the props soon, but I had cut this and it hadn't done anything for the whole time. I think I cut it a month ago, or maybe longer than a month ago, and it's only just rooting now. So I can see a little, where did it go? Little root on the side. Oh, here. There's one right here. And I can see a little root right here, and it's just extending into the substrate now. It's like really nice and perky. I think what it is it's kind of like the same story as the Pat Port. I think because I was struggling with it for a little bit, it wasn't sizing up for me, and I think it had grown a couple leaves that maybe had gotten pests, and maybe it was like when I was sprayed it with Azamax, it burned, and it was just so ugly for so long that I think I just tucked it away and I didn't want to look at it anymore. And in that time, it glowed up so well. Like this leaf is so triangular, so pointy, and so perfect. It is so dark. Like I'm looking at the viewfinder right now and it looks super black, and it looks like very black in person as well. And the new leaves are just so holographic. So earlier when I was talking about how Bessier Ave hybrids can have that really strong holographic, like iridescent shift, this plant can do that. Let me see if I can find a photo, and I'll just pop it here of when this was a new leaf. And it was so pretty. Like every way you turned it, it would look like a different color. So I wanted to show you it again because I think I love this plant again. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I love this plant again. I think I was out of love with it. I still had fondness for it. I was never gonna get rid of it, but now I'm kind of obsessed with this plant and how beautiful and sharp and black it is. Is there anything else in the tent I really want to show you? I think I showed you everything, I think, that I really want to show you. And if I didn't, then that means more stuff to show you in another video. I want to show you guys up close the plants behind me because there's a few leaves I want to show you, and then I want to look through our props. We're going to switch over to the new camera. So I know it's going to be stable, but I don't know how good I am at handling it, but it's all practice, right? Okay, so first of all, this camera weighs like nothing. Do you remember, okay, do people that watch The Office, do you remember when they went to the bookstore and Daryl wanted to try like a Kindle or a tablet, but he was scared to because they put paper businesses out of business? And he was holding the tablet and he was like, it's so light, like a croissant. Like this is what the camera feels like. Anyways, look how buttery smooth it is. It's just everything is super stable. Because I know that in the past when I was doing these like walk around kind of vloggy stuff, it was always so shaky and I always felt so bad for you guys watching that footage. But now it's super stable, and I just noticed, look at this leaf is struggling. He needs some assistance. Oh dear. And it looks like some mite damage. How are they getting in here? I found spider mites in these two exos, and I don't know how they got in there because I didn't introduce new plants in there. And I suppose like the mesh top is open, so it's not as like closed off as my tent when the tent is closed. But yeah, anyways, I really wasn't expecting to see mite damage on stuff. Oh no, that looks like thrips damage. But I will say that everything in here also got treated with spinosad. So I had watered them, I did soil drench, I did the spray. So I am pretty confident that the thrips won't be a problem for much longer. This inflow is on my GG port from Woohoo Tropicals. Let's look at the new leaf. It's got a nice wide sinus. I moved it in here because it needed a lot of space. It's such a tall plant and I wanted to give it slightly less light than in my tent because my tent is so reflective, but it has been slightly underwatered, as you can see. I've been neglecting this exo quite a lot, but this is the second, possibly third inflow. And I do plan to pollinate that one. I'd like to do dark phoenix. What do you guys think? Something like really dark, maybe not quite so velvety, but maybe with a wider sinus. I don't know. I have a few dark phoenix ideas, but we're just gonna leave that for now. Now that we've straightened out that leaf. My Patriciae is like looking like a greased up wrestler because I also found thrips, not thrips, spider mites. There was spider mites all here and there was actual webbing and I just greased it down with spider mite knockout and it was looking actually super pretty and shiny. I mean, it still looks pretty and shiny from a distance, but once you get up close, you can see the spider mite damage, especially like up here and the new leaf. So Patriciae can kind of get these like spots. And I've gotten these before, but this is the first time that it's actually burned through the leaf. So usually these like light green spots, once the leaf hardens, you won't really see them anymore. And I've never had it actually burn brown, except for on this leaf. And I don't know if it's because of spider mites or anything, but on previous leaves, it would have those little light green spots. So once it hardens, it looks perfectly fine and like just a solid green. So I was pretty sad about the Patriciae. It's like the only philodendron I really, really love right now. And it just so happened I was really neglecting my plants. I was getting some spider mite damage on this one as well. This one is Hoff X, Hoffmanii X, or Indo Dress crossed with Red Crystallinum. There's spider mite damage on this new leaf. I did treat it. By the way, my Windlingeri from Woohoo Tropicals, look how big it's getting. Woo! This is the newest leaf. I'm just trying to back up so you can actually see how the newest leaf grew. It is one thirsty gal. This thing is always bone dry whenever I water it, but it's growing so well in this exo. It's sizing up with every leaf. This is the leaf before it. Decent size, but it's getting much bigger. I think the newest leaf when we first got it was around this big. Another like happy, sad update. So my Ace of Spades, this was the newest leaf for the longest time. It just put out this stunner. Maybe I'll just move my Veitchii out of the way. So yeah, look how beautiful that new leaf is. It's forming pretty well in ambient conditions and I don't see any pest damage on it. Knock on wood. Let's just keep those pests away. It's so, so pretty. But the sad thing is the pox. The ace pox has started. You can see on the older leaf, those yellow dots are happening. It's definitely present on the back of the leaf. And you can see it on the back of this leaf as well. All those little dots. And it kind of pokes through the front. So it's not as like intense as other ace pox cases have been. And in case you don't know what ace pox is, it's fungal kind of dots that seems to be like genetic to Ace of Spades, the original dark form Ace of Spades. Some people have found a like quote unquote cure for it by using this aluminum based pest fungicide called Fostil AL. I'm just not that motivated to purchase and kind of get it over the border and use it because I think it's quite expensive. I think I saw on Facebook that it was possibly like $150 for a bottle or something like that. And I don't know that I have enough friends who care enough about ace pox to share that with me. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of just ignoring it the way that Amanda does. So Amanda's main ace, like her gigantic Ace of Spades, also has ace pox, as basically does every Ace of Spades that was propagated from the original one. And it doesn't tend to show up until the plant is more mature. So you won't really see it on juvenile Ace of Spades. So what she does is basically leave it because she knows that it never shows up on the newest leaves or maybe like the newest 2 leaves. It only shows up on the older leaves. So by the time it actually shows up on a leaf, there's usually 2 more newer leaves and prettier leaves to kind of turn around and face forward, and you kind of like hide the ugly poxy leaves away. kind of like what I've inadvertently done there. So yeah, it's sad, but I'm not like super upset about it. I kind of knew it was coming eventually. So I'll just like keep an eye on this leaf now. So now this leaf is not the newest leaf. This leaf is the newest leaf. So we'll see if it starts to show up on this leaf. This doesn't look like pox. We'll see. I might attempt another type of fungicide that I already have. I think I have copper fungicide, and I have Phyton 30. I always get these numbers mixed up. Phyton 37, is it? Not Phyton 20, Phyton 30 something. The one that's like very black, but it turns into like a bright blue when you mix it, that one. Because I already have it and I'm gonna give it a shot, but I don't plan on buying fungicides specifically to battle ace pox. But one more time, I just wanna show you how beautiful this leaf is. I can't believe how well it's growing for me in ambient conditions. Look at these ears, these big chubby ears. Oh, another thing, this is almost ready. This is one of my dark forget-eyes that's looking really ugly. This is what will often happen to my anthurium when it's growing berries. It'll just start like crisping at the tips, even though it's not underwatered. This one was pollinated with dark phoenix and the berries are almost ready. So my other forget-eye I showed you earlier, the one that was pollinated with RE5 that was still green. This is why I am confused, because this was pollinated exactly the same week. The berries are starting to protrude, but they're not quite ready yet because they're not sticking out of the infructescence yet. So they're maybe like a couple weeks away, but this has been purple for so long. So I'm confused why the other one is so green and they're both on forget-eyes. So just to show you once again, this is with the other one. And the berries are already sticking out so much and it's full green. But this one looks like a much better yield. It's gonna be a lot more berries. Dark forget-eye with dark phoenix. I'm hoping for the odd one to have a few sinus with that like dark phoenixy. Let me show you my dark phoenix. That dark phoenixy just texture, puffiness overall, and I want it to be quite dark. I don't think they're going to be like the most like mind-bogglingly beautiful. I think they're going to be solid dark plants with a nice texture. That's what I'm hoping for. Oh, new leaf on my main Wenlingeri. It was so red and orange. The tip of it's still quite peachy, but this one's looking like it's going to be a nice size too. Are you dry? No, you don't need water. My Crystal Lux from Amanda grew this leaf after being moved from pond to tree fern soil. It seems to really like tree fern soil. I think it's gonna be my overall go-to substrate, especially for luxurians and luxurians hybrids, because I always struggled with them in any other substrate, but this leaf I did find thrips on. And just double checking. It's kind of dark. I'm gonna have to see it in the light later, but I don't see thrips as of right now. This little box of goodies is Brielle. So Charmaine's Dock Block Brielle crossed with my Black Crystal. And I just potted these up. So they were in a little seedling dome, like one of these ones. And I just potted these up while we were on the Palm Street Live. If you guys were there, it was so funny. So basically the whole live was supposed to be like plant chores, chat, hangout kind of thing. And Josh was not playing any games. He prepped hardcore plant chores. He had these huge plants that he wanted to either chop and get them up potted. Like they were really, really big plants. And meanwhile, I only had little seedlings and Charmaine was feeling so sick. So she didn't do any chores whatsoever. But Josh was like doing such crazy plant chores that had to be off camera. And then Paulina, oh, if you guys were there, it was really funny. Paulina was like, what are you doing? Like kind of off camera. And he was just like, oh, I'm motorboating. And then just like walked away. She's like, what? Motorboating? He meant boat moding, but it was really funny. And now I feel like I just want to say motorboating every time I talk about it. But I basically boat moded these. So they went from these tiny little cells, kind of up 2 sizes to this size. And I'm keeping them in high humidity now. I would love to kind of acclimate it down. So this lid, I'd like to keep like not fully closed. So it's kind of like this because the the seedling domes, as you can see, there's a lid and you can kind of open up those holes a little bit. So I kept the lid of the dome quite open, so I'm trying to keep the lid of this dome a little bit open. Also kind of a little bit scared of thrips entering here, but so far they are not skipping a beat after the repot. They all look really good. No one's getting really mad. This is probably the biggest one so far. They look very brielle-y, very veiny, but we'll see if they end up being like dark like my black crystal, which by the way is right there. She's beautiful. I love her so much. I'm just eagerly anticipating the next leaf because this leaf hardened off so beautiful and it was so pretty when it first grew out, but it has got some thrips damage on it and I just want to start over. I just have no luck with this plant, but it's so pretty. It's one of my favorites right now. So I just don't know if any of these will end up looking like the black crystal, but there's this one that's quite interesting. It's like, I can't tell really because it's slightly runty. Is it just blister variegation or is there actually variegation on it? It's really hard to tell right now. And it's definitely growing slower than the other ones, but it's growing. So I potted it up like this. So it went from like a tree fern mix that's mixed with perlite and pon into my tree fern soil mix, so a little bit more nutritious. There is worm castings in there. They all got great white. They're gonna get a little bit more consistent fertilization because I do kind of forget to fertilize my seedlings a little bit. I just give them water and give them a little spray. I don't think we're gonna sell any for the time being. I think at least until I get another couple of leaves because I want to see what they end up looking like. But that's an exciting one. These ones, I feel like I could let go of some. So these ones are Pap RA5 crossed with Fort Sherman Ralphalinum. So they're just straight up papillolamnums and they've been growing so well. And this is probably the biggest one so far, but this one's probably gonna end up looking the same. It definitely does look very different from those brielle seedlings when they were growing out. It does look very pappy. I'm really excited for these to grow out, but I'm not gonna keep them all. So I think I have 3, 6, 9, I think I have like 20 or so. I might get some of these out to sell tomorrow. I don't know if people are even looking for papillolanum, but I think this is gonna be a cute one because the parents are so different. Like they're as different as paps can be, I feel like. Let me show you. This is Pap RA5. Oh my gosh. It's really, oh my gosh. It's really scrunched, but you can see how bumpy that texture is. It's got a really pink back. They all have overlapping lobes. And then Fort Sherman Ralphalinum, pointy lobes, very blue toned, not quite so bumpy, but it's got that like, you know, blood vessel looking texture. It looks so different in comparison. So I'm very curious what it'll look like. I don't know if anyone's interested, but I will probably bring a few. So I have these ones and then I have these ones, which are slightly bigger because these were planted maybe a week before these ones, but overall looking quite similar. This is what I'm talking about. I'm forgetting to feed them. I just fed them last week, I think, but I hadn't fed them for quite a long time. So they're getting a little bit chlorotic on the edges, but this one's probably the most furthest along, the one that has the most characteristics. Look how bumpy it is. And it's looking a little bit more narrow, but definitely the most texture on this leaf. So I think maybe I'm going to get out like 5 or 6 and sell them tomorrow and see if there's any interest. But as far as seedlings go, that's the only one I feel like I'm ready to sell or let go of some. So this one would have been so exciting. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Red Crystal Port crossed with King of Spades. So Charmaine's Red Crystal Port, my King of Spades. The infructescence was so full of berries. Those berries look huge, look juicy. The seeds were really big. And I don't know what happened, but Charmaine brought them here for me to pot up at the live. So I was doing that while we were live, and there were so many seeds that just were hollow. Like they were giant round seeds. So imagine like a corn kernel, like a popcorn kernel, and there was just a straight hole through them. They were rotting. Some of them looked like they had rotted in half. So it was just like a half seed. It's so strange, but there are a few that look to be slightly, look at this one. This one is like, do you see that? It's like a half seed, but it's kind of germinating. I'm so confused what happened to these. So this is my half of the seeds that didn't completely like rot and turn into like a donut. There's this one. There's this one. Looks like it's okay. And this one's rotted. It's like grayish brown. This one looks like it might do something. And then this one is not quite doing anything, but it's not brown and gray. And then this one is ones that were kind of like half rotted, and I didn't think they were worth keeping, but I was like, maybe it'll do something. So I threw a few in here. I threw a few in Charmaine's dome, but this was such a sad little yield of seeds that just, I don't know why they rotted. I think Charmaine harvested them like a few weeks ago, so they should be further along. I don't know why. It's really sad. I just want at least 1 or 2 plants that actually like grow out of this, and I feel like that's the best I can hope for. Maybe just these 2 at the top here in the left. So that's all I got for seeds going on right now, but that's okay because I have all of these to harvest soon. This, I hope, goes all the way to ripening. If you guys remember this Meg hybrid that I really love from Amanda, this one's been successfully pollinated with King of Spades. So maybe that one will be cool. That one's growing berries. I don't know how long it'll take, maybe another 3 months. But this is the plant I would love to get Carla pollen on. Wouldn't that be beautiful? By the way, my luxurians that I converted from pond to soil. Look at this new leaf. Doesn't it look so funny? It's such a funny shape. It's so short and wide lobed, and I don't know, it's just so out of proportion, but I love that shape. It looks so ridiculous and in a good way, but I love it. Now that we're making a mess here, let's move to the other side of the room. This is my dome of goodies. Okay, what is going on in here? We got some bee veps. I had propagated one of my bee veps and it had pushed out 2 little growth points that were like rooting on their own. So I separated them, I potted them up. So that's what they look like. They are not loving it in here because it's too much light. You can see how bleachy they're getting. The older leaf is like super bleached. So I'd like to get them out. I just want them to root out a little bit more in this dome. Here's a Spider Ralph Man. Is this Spider Ralph Man? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Spider Ralph Man prop. Also looking slightly bleached. Here's another Spider Ralph Man prop, looking a little bit better because it didn't get ripped. I'm pretty sure I cut these on camera. This one is my Carla like bench hybrid. So the one that was sold by NSE Tropicals as pure Carla, but it was contaminated, like one of my favorite plants. This one is on its 2nd leaf, but not looking like the mother plant yet. So I don't know if I want to sell it yet because I want to sell it when it actually looks like the beautiful mother plant, which is this plant right here. It's so dark and it's got such beautiful purpley emergent leaves. The Carla Wu 1 that I chopped on camera. First leaf is emerging. It's got, I think, 2 growth points, one right here, one right here. So that's good. Carla Wu 2 is here. And it's the tiniest little cutting because, like, as we saw from the Wu 1, the stem is very, very stacked. Like the internodes are very, very short. So I don't see any action right now, but there's gotta be a node in there somewhere. This little cutie is Pap RA5 Swamp Bunny. Maybe this one could be ready to sell, possibly. Anyways, that about does it for my most pertinent updates. In summary, we're still dealing with spider mites. I have been slacking on the spider mite treatments, and now we have thrips to deal with, which I feel like it's not going to be too much of a problem. So do you guys remember in my tent one time, I found spider mites? Not a lot, but I found speckles on a few plants, which right now I don't see spider mite damage on any plants in there right now, but I do see them in my exos and obviously the plants out in ambient. Do you remember one time I used Azamax and I just drenched everything and everything got super burned, but spider mites didn't come back. So I'm wondering if I should give Azamax another try for spider mites, or I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like everything got really well under control for a little bit and now it's kind of coming back a little bit, but it's not so bad. overall there's a lot of leaves that don't have spider mite damage. I feel like I'm just at a bit of a rut. I'm not really sure what to do because nothing has ever worked completely, but I guess that's just how it is with spider mites. And with thrips, I will just continue to just check every day for thrips, and I will spray with spinosad, and I will just do one more round of soil drench with spinosad for everything out here. I don't know how I'm gonna do my tent. I'm not really sure. And then I'm gonna wait 3 to 4 weeks and then re-inoculate with great white. But the good thing is, ever since that first 2 days of actually finding live thrips on the plants and doing that heavy treatment, I haven't found a single thrip since then. So we're just gonna wait out that whole life cycle of like 30-ish days and see if anything comes back. I'm not too fussed about the thrips. It's kind of just weird that I got it and a few of my friends got it all in the same time, which we don't really deal with thrips on a daily basis. So it's kind of strange, but it's not the end of the world. So I'm gonna go eat now because I'm freaking starving. Ideally next week, we're gonna do a repot and chat, possibly, or maybe just plant chores. I am just happy to be healthy again. I'm happy to have energy. I'm happy that cooler weather is in the forecast in the next few weeks, not this week, but in the weeks coming. It feels like we're steadily moving towards pumpkin season, which is the best. I am so excited for summer to be over. I honestly feel a little bit of survivor's guilt. Like, it wasn't so bad of a summer. It wasn't so hot and so unbearable. I almost feel like I got away a little bit too easy. But yeah, we're getting back into plant chore weather, which is I'm so excited for. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope your weekend was lovely. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!